Oh, hi. I'm Robin Hoffman. I'm a public artist here in the Outer Banks State Park. This is really one of my favorite places. Actually, I took my aunt here when she retired. So I'm a public artist, and so I go everywhere. And so I've been doing that all my life, and I've really been appreciating nature. And also people who are strongly advocates for the climate and nature and all its intricacies. And why do I say that? Because, for instance, there's a person named Rachel Carson who was a biologist, but she didn't start out that way. She actually went to school. She became a writer, I think, in school. Originally in 1901 she was born, so 1907, something like that. And by the time she was 50 years old, she won all these awards, but mostly she's been remembered for her DDT pesticide awareness campaign. In other words, she discovered that there was this pesticide that was unregulated being sprayed on everything. It was destroying the biosphere. In other words, the ability for the DNA for most molecules to be able to reproduce normally. And it was causing people to have cancer and animals and species to be destroyed that enable us to live. And Jimmy Carter, so you can tell how I've been through the decades painting. And so while I'm painting, I notice all the changes. And what do I mean? So, when I started painting, I was in Vermont because my mom was an artist also and a teacher, and so she had a place in Vermont so that she could have a studio there in the summertime. It became too hot. So I started to look up north, and I went all the way to Canada. So over the years, I just want to say that I've been observing nature as part of something that I really, really appreciate. How much nature gives us life, and how it has to be balanced. You know, the water, the sun, the earth, the air, they all have a responsibility to life. And we also have a responsibility for preserving that so that we can live healthfully. And somehow, over the years, people have been very reckless. And but what I want to say is, as a part of my challenge of trying to be, part of organizations that already have established people, very smart people, scientists, people who are advocates who are also nature lovers, just people who are almost indigenous communities who've lived here for 400,000 years or whatever, people who keep the community of nature. Nature is a community, it works together, like I said. And so one of the great organizations, they call it the Nature Conservancy, which actually to me is Nature Conservancy, but now the acronym is TNC, which I rather say Nature Conservancy. But anyway, they asked me to do a poster for them. They were talking about the coal mining, and this is in 2009. So this poster is of the mussels, 23 species in 2009 that were extinct. What are mussels? Mussels clean out the water, keep us with purified water, and instead there was coal mining sludge. So anyway, they asked me to do this poster, and I studied the mussels, and it was just amazing what I studied. But certainly, you can't have enough people paying attention to things. you know, and that sort of thing. And especially being advocates. So, oh my goodness.
Wow, Robin. Fancy meeting you here.
So good to meet you. You have
It's
no
good to see
idea how
you.
good it is. It's just like you surprised me. Here we are. We're just like in the Outer Banks. And
I know.
so what's your umbrella? That looks lovely.
It's talking about the rising sea level that's happening all around the world. And I'm here with my boots on just in case, because you never know when you might have a sunny day flooding. So I'm ready.
It's like that with the climate. So what does your umbrella say anyway?
It says coming more sea level rise.
Oh.
We've already had quite a bit. We've had 8 to 9 inches since the 1880s. And 3 of those inches just in the past 3 decades.
Could you sit down for a minute? Do you have
Sure,
time?
I have time.
Oh, awesome. And do you mind if I paint while we talk?
No, I'd love to see
Oh
you
my
paint.
goodness. Now, tell me something. First of all, isn't this amazing?
Yes, I love
I mean,
this
you just
place.
happen to be here when I'm here, and then all of a sudden, what a surprise.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say, first of all, I'm painting on a recycled board. Because I always like to paint on things. I don't want
Good for
to
you.
take our resources away. And also, I want to tell you that it is a holiday season. But one of the things I do is I actually am very conscientious about thankfulness and people giving something to each other in any way. So this is a tree. And this actually comes in the supermarkets now, which we do still need right now until we change our industry or whatever. But and you can plant it after the holiday.
Oh, great.
Isn't that what we need?
Yes, we need more of that.
So tell me about yourself. I met you because, first of all, you're like the Al Gore of Charlottesville.
Well, I did train with Al Gore down in Atlanta with the Climate Reality Project. And so now I'm going around giving presentations about the climate crisis.
And I have to just admit that I was so impressed. You had this big conference in the library. And can you just like sort of go through that sort of commitment for and educating people up to date what's happening in our environment?
So I like to give my presentations because they're fact-based. They use a lot of our own government agencies' information from like NASA and NOAA and U.S. Geological Survey and even our own Department of Defense. Facts from them, as well as from research institutions like MIT and Stanford. And I give out the facts on what's happening with the climate, how it's changed, and what we need to do to prevent further destruction of our planet because of the extra CO2 in our atmosphere.
Now, I mean, this is not a new thing. Rachel Carson was born in 1901, and she became a climatologist, so to speak, but she wrote about everything. She wrote about the biosphere in the oceans changing. Do you know about that? Do you know about that?
Yes. So all that extra CO2, most of it's going into our oceans, and that's acidifying the oceans. Well, when the oceans are too acidic, shell-type creatures like clams and mussels, etc., and shrimp, which I love to eat, can't grow their shells. There's not enough of the right nutrients in the water for them to grow that.
I had no idea. So that means that we're not gonna be able to clean the oceans because those are the animals or the species that does that, right?
True, very true. And the other thing, of course, is that all that extra heat that's caused by the trapping of CO2 in our atmosphere, it's trapping our heat, the extra heat. All that heat is causing sea level to rise, and then we end up with storm surges that are much worse and flooding on a scale that we haven't seen before.
Okay. What made you decide to get involved with this?
Well, I really love the outdoors, like the Outer Banks or any number of different environments, like canoeing. I love canoeing, cross-country skiing, all of those outdoor activities. So it was natural for me to want to try to protect those things.
Do you mind if I paint while we talk?
No, I'd love to see that.
Okay, so, but what I want to say is also a little bit, when I paint and talk at the same time, I like to explain a little bit about the climate that I'm painting. And the reason is because I understand since I'm 7 years old that the climate has everything to do with the way the colors translate. There's like 32 million colors from just your primary colors. You can mix all that in nature, right? And why am I saying that right now is because I'm painting to begin with the sky, which has everything to do with the sun, the radiation, and things like that that enable things to grow or not.
Yes.
So how did you start doing this again?
Well, I went down to Atlanta and spent...
No, I mean like
Oh.
in life, you said you were vacationing.
Oh. Well, it all really kind of started when I moved out to Oregon to go to school, to college. And of course, they're really into the outdoors out there in the Pacific Northwest. And so I took up, for the first time, cross-country skiing and other activities that I hadn't done, and really just got into being in the outdoors because it's beautiful out there, as it is here.
As it is in the Outer Banks?
As it is here, yeah, in the Outer Banks and on the whole East Coast.
Yes. And as opposed to the West Coast?
It's just a different, it's a little different.
Exactly. It's a different topography. And it's also what you're used to, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, if it changes, you kind of want to like tell everybody, wait, what are you doing? You kind of want to get involved with people making an effort to maintain what
Yes.
we have, right?
Yes.
So how did you get to be Al Gore?
So actually, it's quite easy. If you go to the Climate Reality Project site, you can sign up for any number of his presentations and his trainings, and he does them actually around the world. The one right after mine was down in Australia. So he's covering the entire planet.
So what do you know? Do you know anything about Australia from?
That you may have noticed in the newspapers recently, they're having extreme fire hazards because of it's so dry and so warm, and they have such vast, huge tracts of land that are not populated. And so fires start, and people don't even realize it for a while, and they're just having the worse than California fires.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And it's the same what I was listening to today on the progressive radio station of Charlottesville, which we have only one of. Amy Goodman was talking about the president of Brazil and the Amazon, and how there's a lot of right-wing, what does that mean? So it means that there's a lot of, right now, leaders who forget about the future of our children, right?
Right.
And so we have to kind of live right now until we vote everybody out. But it's just occurring to people very quickly because of the internet, right? It's like we can see it in real time. We can see when people are corrupt, and they forget that. Some of them are like from the age of not being on the internet, so to speak. And so they don't realize that they're actually harming the entire world by making bad decisions. Mm-hmm. But what I noticed was that there are people like you. And we're so lucky, first of all, because you are advocating for us here in Virginia, but also because you're also, when you love to go to North Carolina, so you talk about that, but also in your video, which, by the way, you were delivering, and I hope you do that as a producer here, for people to watch. You actually delivered information now, real time. And so it's like an emergency. We got to get our, butts going.
Yes.
We can't be like waiting, right?
No, we can't be waiting any longer. Every day you hear about new research from scientists that tell us that, oh, we are way past doing something about this climate crisis.
So, and you also enabled us to some degree. You were giving us helpful hints, right? You were saying things like, if we change our industries, right? We change the way we use heat and produce heat, right, into the atmosphere. We can actually correct this, like cool it down.
Yes.
Do you have any industries, like for instance, I remember talking to you after the library thing, and then all of a sudden these people were standing up. I was one of them. And they were standing up and they're going, do you know about this? Do you know about that? Do you get that a lot? Do you hear people say like, is there a way to take those bottles, for instance, and make sneakers out of them? Or what's the next alternative for different industries, for not polluting the ocean, for not dumping our garbage into the ocean? Do people talk to you about that?
Sometimes, yes. And there's a lot of global-wide companies that have committed already to going to 100% renewable energy. And some of those same companies are really trying to reduce their waste and not use as much, things like plastics and paperboard, et cetera. But there's a lot going on with solar and wind these days.
So you know about the schools in Charlottesville, and Generation 180 got all the schools to Albemarle and the city to change to renewables. And so now
Yes.
UVA just made an announcement. So it can happen very quickly. It doesn't
can.
have to take, we have the resources now that we didn't have before.
Right.
And that's so even in Rachel Carson's time, we didn't have that much potential to correct things, except we were destroying things. That was the thing that we could have corrected. But now we have the potential to, with computers, we do have that advantage of, like, they have a data school at UVA. And that data school tells us that it's a fact. There's no longer a situation where you have no data, no factual information. You see the amount of asthma, data.
Right.
You see the amount of particulate matter in the air, data. You see the amount of waste that's in the water, data. It's like right there for us to say. So now you look at the data, what do you do with it? So you change what you're doing. Isn't that what we're all about here
That's
now?
what we're trying to do.
Change.
Get people to change. Yes.
What do you do in your house?
Well, I have pretty much stopped using my dryer, and I have a drying rack,
Whoa,
and so I use that.
that's a good idea.
Yeah. So there's simple things people can do, for sure.
So, and then in your lifetime, do you see yourself, for instance, in your lifetime, did you live in nature? Did you grow your own food or anything like that?
No, I'm not that type of person to do farming type things, but no, but yeah, that would be great. Yeah, if you raise your own food, sure. Or just go to the farmer's market, so you're buying locally and you're not buying prepackaged materials.
So the local foods also have more nutrition. As soon as you pick something,
Yes.
it loses its
Nutritional
value, so you need to eat it quickly. The
Yes.
only way you can eat it quickly is if you get the farmers to bring it to you.
Right.
But also it's the community thing, right? Like you're in a
Supporting the community, the local community that
and
you
then
live
the
in.
people there are talking to each other. They're saying what's going on. And then they tell you, a lot of times they have recipes and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of stuff that happens in a farmer's market. I've always gone to farmer's markets, so when I do caricatures in different cities in the farmer's market, so I can learn about people.
Oh, that's cool.
It's so fun, yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Do you do any handiwork or something creatively?
No, right now I'm focusing a lot on doing these climate presentations and customizing them for different groups. I'll be doing one for the Master Naturalists in January, and so I'm customizing that one for them. So,
You know, it's interesting to me how people start to get momentum. I mean, besides the fact that it's an emergency, but also it seems like you're at the right place at the right time, doesn't it?
it feels that way. It does. Like I could probably be doing a presentation once a week if I, you know.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, there's that much demand.
Oh my goodness.
Because people are just really starting to wake up to the climate crisis and how bad it really can be and how it's really going to change our lives if we don't do something about it.
Well, we didn't admit to it and I want to say that because I volunteer a lot. I belong to the NRC. I don't belong. There's no like funds or whatever. But I mean, what do you call that? But anyway, I volunteer for them, or I just show up at their meetings really. And it started because I belong to the League of Women's Voters, and they all are associated with the county. Liz Palmer and Sally Thomason, all these people watching out for us, like where do we put our waste? And then who was doing the plumbing when? And where are those pipes now?
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. They're very smart people. They're like the Google of waste and natural resources.
Right.
And then they're trying to also make like, they put in a lot of effort on their own, especially Liz Palmer, of course, she's the Albemarle County supervisor, so she has to put in a lot of effort trying to pitch to people who just don't care in their community. Like they don't care because they're having such a good time. You know, they're just like living, and then they don't really understand the ramifications of what's happening until you come around and show that feature film there. So can you tell me a little bit more about the film itself?
Or the climate crisis?
Yeah.
So I think the take home really for me was when I saw the graphs from NOAA, which is the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, that's our own government agency, of CO2 in the atmosphere over 800,000 years. You can see it go up and down, roughly from about 180 parts per million to 300. And that went on for 800,000 years, and then all of a sudden now it's shot up to 415 parts per million. And with no action and continuing on the same trajectory, we're going to be at 600 parts per million in 40 years. What's going to happen to the climate?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we don't even want to think about that at 600 parts per million. Already we're seeing effects of extreme weather, what they call rain bombs and bomb cyclones. I mean, these are new terms that we're just learning in the last 10 years or so.
Didn't Al Gore predict this? Like, when did he predict this?
Well, the scientists have really been predicting
Right.
it since about the 1970s.
Right.
So,
And Rachel Carson.
and Rachel Carson.
And so, but also the weather inconvenient truths.
Yes.
And then it's inconvenient truth too.
Two.
So Al Gore's like saying each time, even though he knows all this, and his daughter is in,
Very active too.
well, she's in, oh gosh, I'm gonna get the, Union Hill, which is where Buckingham County is. She lives there. So I was there when they did the pipeline thing and Al Gore came.
And Reverend
2016, right?
and Reverend Barber
Was it
came.
this year?
I think you're right. It was 2018, I think.
I mean 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what happened was I went with, and I want to get this right, so So I belong to Seville Now, which is Charlottesville National Women's Organization, or somebody. No, it was Indivisible.
That you went with.
Yeah, like everybody joined like a million things right after 2016. We said we're in trouble. We need to, if somebody's not going to believe in climate actions, we're going to have to do it ourselves, which is good. It's a good thing because I think people were waiting for the government to do everything, and it wasn't happening anyway. It hadn't happened I've been here quite a while, and it hasn't really happened. It was like Jimmy Carter said, okay, little cars, less gas. And then all of a sudden, they started getting SUVs again. And I was like, what? You know, you can't burn fossil fuel. We knew this so long. But anyway, so now Al Gore always has a hopeful thing, doesn't he?
Yes, yes.
So what are some of the highlights of that hopefulness? Like, what should we tell the kids?
Well, for example, solar, back in 2000, they projected, you know, like a gigawatt per year for a while. And then by 2018, their projection was exceeded 109 times over. So solar has just taken off. So that's a great alternative to burning, for example, heating oil to warm your house.
And for instance, Governor Northam in Virginia, do you know about some of his initiatives lately?
Yeah, his most recent one is that he's made an executive order to put us on track for a 100% renewable electric grid by 2050. So that's really great. Plus, our local county and city have both committed to similar greenhouse gas emission reduction goals.
Okay, so, but what I want to say is we have to wrap this up. I'm going to sign my painting real quick, and I want to thank you so much. And I'm so glad that you're going to be doing a show. And so we're going to have to wrap this up because we have 19 minutes. But so anyway, in light of Joni Mitchell and all the wonderful scientists and engineers and everybody, thank you so much for working as an advocate in our...
I'm happy to do it.
Oh, you're awesome. I love you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Don't it always seem to go? You don't know what you got till it's gone. Play paradise, you put up a parking lot.